tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is author Afton Fraser and artist Marie LaLanne. Author Afton Fraser was born and raised in New York. As an actress, she appeared in numerous films and she was on TV. Why do you say former actor? Isn't an actor always an actor?
Not in my case, John. I'm former.
No?
I'm done.
Is it former? Is it because your husband, Brendan's an actor?
Maybe that has something to do with it, but I think, well, the passion kind of died for me in the acting world, and I thought best leave it to people who are really great at it and who can do it.
How did you start? How did you actually start acting?
I started when I was quite young. At 12 years old, I just loved Broadway, and I loved theater, and I loved movies, and I just said, this is what I want to do. So I loved it as a kid and as a teenager, and I started working professionally probably at about 18, and I really enjoyed it. And as I got older, there were just other things I became more interested in.
Is that right?
Being married and
did you take acting lessons?
I did. Oh, memory lane. Oh my goodness.
We're going to go back because you're talking about the classics in your book. We're going to talk about the classic Afton. What was your name?
My name?
What was it when you were acting?
It was Smith.
Afton Smith?
Yes.
Oh, that's a perfect name. Where did Afton come from?
Oh, Afton is a Robert Burns poem, Flow Gently, Sweet Afton.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
And your mother loved that?
She did, and my grandmother would hum it, so I'm not going to sing it for you now, though.
Okay. Weren't you a singer on Broadway?
No. But, it was a river, a river in Scotland.
Oh,
not Scottish at all. It was just a pretty name.
But it was just a pretty name that you liked.
Thank you,
Yeah, you're lucky with Smith, huh?
You have to doll it up a little.
Exactly. So it wasn't because you married an actor that you stepped out.
No, I was sort of losing my passion for it, I would say. And really in a couple, two actors is a little rough when traveling and one has to stay home and audition and one is off making films, and it just too much separation. And
have you seen that happen with your friends?
It seems a bit common in Hollywood, doesn't it?
It does, but I mean, if your friends are like that, or are they different?
They're more like me, where if they're actors, one is an actor and one does something else and is able to travel with their spouse, and I think that's important.
But the other thing that, by giving up acting, I was going to say former actress, but by giving up that part of your life, you were able to open another door, and it was writing, I guess.
Well, it just came about. I love old movies. I always have since I was a kid, and I was always asked by my friends, what should I watch? I don't know where to start. And so I said, well, I haven't written anything before, but I'm going to take a stab at it.
So this is your first book?
It is.
Then how did you put everything together? How did you know how to organize it? Let's talk about the organization first. How did you tackle writing a book?
Well, I'm very lucky that my mother is the designer of the book. So I had the idea, and I was just playing around with it, and I called her and said, what do you think? She said, I think it's great. And the next day, FedEx, she had sort of a mock-up of it.
Does she do that professionally?
She works at a newspaper, but she has done books before. So she did a great design, and from that, it just kind of snowballed.
It was just that beginning.
Yeah, and it was like a puzzle that the pieces all fit. It was great. So to have her support was great too.
Why the classics? Because you could have done any kind of a movie book, I guess, and still gotten the gossip and the whatever else you put into it.
I think this is just my love, the older films, and I think I really want another generation to see them. Recently I was having my hair done, and I was talking to my hairdresser's assistant, and I said, I wrote this book about old movies and classic films, and she said, well, my favorite old movie better be in there. It just better be in there. You tell me that Dirty Dancing is in there. I went,
is that right?
I'm trying to reach out to.
Far? That's your audience, right?
Maybe it won't work, but
they have a chance to see these things on television now, right?
Oh, with Turner Classic Movies, if I had that growing up, I would have been, oh, that would have been great, because we had, we didn't have DVDs, we didn't have video in my day, and I would just look in the paper, and if there was something on at 1 in the morning, I would try and catch it. Or so we do have this great Turner Classic Movies and DVDs and all, video.
But this is after you're talking to someone whose favorite movie is Dirty Dancing or 16 Candles or whatever.
Right.
Like she saw something 10 years ago, right?
Right.
So it would have been her
That's
favorite.
right.
But how did you then start? What was your first film? I mean, how did you start? You had to divide it. So we'll talk about how you divided it. But how did you start picking these? It goes,
Well,
Hollywood, I'm going to hold this up so that you can see it. Hollywood picks the classics, which
Yes.
means Hollywood stars were picking their
They
favorites,
were.
right?
I was very lucky to have some great actors and directors and writers picking their top 10 favorites. And I sort of had my lists, and then it was great because we were picking so many of the same ones. And
So what
and then
were you
sometimes
doing? Right, making a list, calling, I don't know who you called. Let's name somebody.
Well, we have Halle Berry's in there. We have Hugh
So
Jackman,
you call Halle
Mickey
Berry?
Rooney.
Did you call Hugh Jackman?
I might have called their publicist.
And then they
Yeah.
gave you a list of them?
Some did. Some of the actors that love old Hollywood were excited to do it, and others just maybe aren't as interested. It's not that many are, I think. It's always surprises me that not everyone loves the old movies. But I pretty much had what I was putting in the book.
Oh, you
and then
knew
they,
it yourself?
Yes, and then they picked their favorites. All of them are in the book. So some that aren't, it's great because you get even more films to choose from. And if you love, say, Jeff Bridges,
like this one, it says
there's Hugh Jackman,
Eric Idle, Hugh Jackman, and then who's the other
Piper
one?
Laurie.
And so those are the films they like,
Right.
underneath here.
Yes, and
then
they're-
what do you do? Then do you go on in this part to talk about the film?
Well, this I talk about. I have it in sections, and that's a comedy section that you have up. So I put all the comedy. The actors are just through it alphabetically.
I
it's
see.
kind of hard.
Oh,
to,
just whatever they like.
Right.
I see.
Yeah, I
see.
didn't have them specify your favorite comedies. Your favorite.
I see.
I just said put them all in. So, yeah, and that was hard picking the ones that would go in. That was one of the toughest
And then
things to do.
you got Esther Williams to write the introduction.
Yes. Yeah,
She must have loved old films.
She did. She has a great list, and she was such a wonderful woman, and I get very starstruck when I'm around her, and I'm friends with her, and I'm still in awe of her, and when I see her, she's so beautiful and warm and lovely, and I'm very lucky that she did that for me.
And what she did, what she's done on the screen has been so brilliant.
So, and one of a kind. She's in my one of a kind section because she's one of a kind.
So tell us about that. So far we've talked about a comedy and
Right.
one of a kind, because you've broken it down into sections.
Right. I tried to think of a person that hadn't seen any and just to make it as easy as possible. So the one-of-a-kinds are people that they are the only ones that do what they did. I have Charlie Chaplin, I have Esther Williams, and Carmen Miranda's in there because no one did what she did. And Jerry Lewis, of all people.
Yeah.
Because without...
I read that,
Yeah.
the Jerry Lewis part.
Yeah, and... Well, he's really something. I love Jerry Lewis. He's so wonderful. But really, if you think, you really couldn't put a different actor in that role. As many of these, even the classic films like Sunset Boulevard, Montgomery Clift was slated to play William Holden's part, but there's no one that's going to play Jerry Lewis's part. He's the one of a kind.
You tell these kind of little gossipy things about something that had to do with Sunset Boulevard, or something that had to do with Stage Door.
Right, or like in All About Eve, that was originally supposed to be Claudette Colbert, and the gossip is not the kind of the gossip we're seeing today, where it's a little more
different kind
meaner.
of gossip, but
Yeah.
this is just means she was going to play. It's not gossipy, mean gossip.
Exactly. It's fun gossip. It's real interesting trivia in there. So
More or less.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: you broke this down into film noir, drama, and suspense. Now those all seem to me like they fit into one movie.
there are some similarities between suspense and film noir, but film
How
noir
did
is
you
really
do
its
it?
own. Well,
How'd
that's
you know which one was which genre?
Good question. Well,
Comedy,
film-
I know. Musicals, you know.
Yes, and then I have must-sees, which could there's a little bits of all of them in the must-see. Well, Well, film noir is really a different genre. The lighting, there's a certain pattern to it with the characters that are in it. But there are some things like Laura is in my suspense that could blur a little bit, I have to say.
But suspense, right?
Blur a little bit, but they really are two quite different when you watch them.
And drama and suspense, that seems like the same to me.
Well, suspense to me is you're on the edge of your seat, and there's it's pins and needles. And drama, well, that could be dramatic too. But that's how I categorized it.
Well, what's next?
Maybe a sequel.
We'll
see.
I mean,
maybe the 60s and 70s.
Have you thought about it?
I have thought about it a little bit. We'll see. Yeah, I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old. So
you have a little baby?
I do. So what's next might be postponed a little bit, but we'll see. When I get some sleep, then I'll think about it. Yeah.
But is it difficult promoting something like this when you have like 2 little babies?
It's okay now. Actually, writing it, I was pregnant with my second.
But wasn't that easier just to be writing something?
Not really when you're sick and throwing up every day. Sorry. But
and it wasn't the flu.
Unfortunately.
It stayed, right?
Yeah.
It stayed a long time. But it wasn't easy doing that?
That was a little rough, but I think it was good. It was a good distraction.
Do you go out and do, say, readings or things?
I have been, and it's been okay. I have I've been doing it where it works out with the time with my little ones.
It's so much fun. I mean, I love reading it. And here we turn right to Laura, which was in your
suspense.
Your suspense.
Classic.
And then I think just to show, let's see, these little strips.
Yeah. A little bit about the stars, the cast, the Academy Award, information. I wanted it to just be fun, and a lot of film books out today are very scholarly, and if you just want to know what to watch, it's a little overwhelming. So
so in these you have the cast, and then you have, just as you said, the gossip, and then the buzz, and all of that's going on.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for writing it. It's fun to read. It's something you can pick up and read quickly, and then do it again tomorrow.
That's right. That's what I wanted.
Thanks, Afton.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching this part of the Joan Quinn Profiles. Don't go away, because we will be back with Marie LaLanne, who made the paintings on the set today. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm with Marie Elfman LaLanne, an artist in many different disciplines. She was born and raised in Paris. Montparnasse was her playground, and Marie went to the Académie Julian Grand Chaumier in Paris and she assisted the great artist Niki San-Fall. You were surrounded by great art all the time. Tell us about your parents, and then tell us what you learned as you were growing up.
I'm still learning. But yes, I grew up with a fun family. My parents had a very small studio in Paris, in Montparnasse, in the 60s. And out of that little space came their big ideas and sculptures. They started to do big animals in metal. And then we moved to the country, and we moved with other artists that live close by, Niki de Saint-Phal, Jean Tinguely.
Well, they were living together, huh?
Yes.
Were they?
In an old Auberge du Cheval Blanc. They bought an old inn and transformed it into their studio.
And that was close to where your
It was
parents?
like 15 kilometers away. So after I finished school, started art school for a while, we moved there, and I became an assistant. So it was really fun living with them and being with them.
So you were with Niki, or did you do work with Jean too?
No, but they worked and lived together, so I could see. I was around those people and whoever, all their friends, and it was very fun.
So exciting. And the same thing was going on at your house. Did you think things were better at the Saint-Phal, the Tingley house, than the LaLanne house?
I wonder, maybe there was some competition, you know.
Was there? I wonder. Which
No, but they all showed at some point at the Galerie Yolas in Paris, Boulevard Saint-Germain.
Oh, they both did?
In the 60s.
They all
yes.
did?
Well, François and Claude got accepted by the other artists at that time, when Yolas took them in his gallery. And then it was cool, but before that, it was, you have to, they were starting their career, they had to get their work done and be there, make surface.
They couldn't be social? Were they social at that point?
Completely. My parents always were social. Before that, they
Always
were all
social.
the same artists of that time, from the, I would call them the 60s. They all started when they were 25 in a little impasse, Roncin in Paris. It was like little old shacks. There were a lot of artists. I forgot the name. It's a real famous one, but
what do they call it? It's like the slums. It's like
yes,
where artists always start, where it's cheapest and easiest to rent
so
a
they're
space.
little wooden shacks, but all of them started here, and a bunch of them made it big.
And then when you moved to the country, where was the country? What was that?
Near Fontainebleau. And there it was beautiful. I loved moving from Paris to the countryside. We were near the forest, and I started to paint then. And François used to be a painter before he was a sculptor. So he taught me a lot, and my mother too. They both had their own work. Claude did a lot of work with plants and animal, but
So that was the influence, because
Yes.
you see the animal influence in your work, and also the plants that start very jungle-like,
yes.
because of maybe where
Well,
you were
we are at
living.
home. We are always surrounded by the houses. Maybe you've been to my parents' house.
I
then?
have been there.
You've seen it's these flowers, leaves, animal, live or bronze everywhere.
But your mother really needed the garden and needed the flowers,
Yes,
because that
yes.
became a part of her sculpture, like you're wearing on your lapel.
Like she goes to the market in Fontainebleau and she finds a beautiful cabbage. But I just did a painting with it's a woman in maybe the garden of Uri, where we live in Fontainebleau. And there's a woman with a little cabbage choupat. It's a cabbage with little chicken feet.
Your mother made that?
Yes, but I used it in my painting I just did in a show right now.
Oh, I thought that
Yes,
looked familiar.
maybe.
So and snails and things that are in the garden.
Yes, well, they made me aware of so many things you just pass by, you don't realize that they can really catch
So this was all
your attention.
part of your background. One person I didn't talk about was Jackie Matisse. Did you
She was also, well, at that time, I met Tini Duchamp and Marcel, just like they were looking to a house to buy in France, and they were going to move in a little village close by where we were. But that was 3 days before he passed away, but I remember meeting him.
and so you were working
And
with,
then they all, Jackie moved there and Tini Duchamp. And yeah, we were all good friends. And she had some suitcase ready-made that needed to be assembled, and we did that together. She asked me if I could.
That's what I didn't understand. Was it a real suitcase?
Yes, it's the authentic one, but they just had to be put together
Oh, so you helped her do that.
on some section, but yeah, but it's original.
But then you joined the Grand Magic Circus.
I joined the circus.
How could you do that? What did you do?
I was painting away, and my sister came one day and told me, Marie, we are missing a little angel tonight. The girl is sick. Could you come and replace her for one night?
Oh.
And so I went in Paris and stayed that for 3-4 nights at the Grand Magic Circus. And they wanted me to stay, and I did stay.
But was your sister in the circus?
Yes.
Oh, she was this family. But the circus reminds me of something that Nikki Samphal would be a part of rather than your family.
Yes, that's true, but it's true. But I guess I was influenced by Nikki's
Oh, maybe.
attitude on life.
So you went
Our
to
life
be,
is a circus, it's true.
so you went to be an angel.
I did, and look where I am now in Los Angeles. So
I
it was
know.
a sign.
But what happened? So at the circus you met Rick Elfman.
Yes.
And tell us about that.
I met Rick during, we had the Arab scene in the harem with a bunch of musicians and people in monkey suit and the pasha of the the show at the time. And that's where I met Rick. And that's what happened.
And you came to California.
Yeah, we stayed in Paris for 2 years, and then
Oh,
he
you
was
did?
homesick for a while, so we decided to go visit his family. But I never came back.
But the thing, the Elfman, it's related to the music, Elfman.
Elfman?
Elfman. It's related.
Yes. Danny, you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes. Danny is his brother. Danny came to join us in Paris in the Grand Magic Circus because Rick called him and said, look, you have to... Danny was 17 at the time.
Oh.
And he said, you have to come, this is great. And Danny already was playing a bunch of musical instruments. He was only 17 and self-taught.
The thing that's so interesting, though, is you leave the Grand Magic Circus and you end up with the Oingo Boingo.
Well, Rick and I and 3 other friends started right away a similar group to the Grand Magic Circus. That was the idea.
So you actually started that group?
Yes, I was.
Oh.
I was there at that time. Yes.
So what was Oingo Boingo was in English and Magic Circus was in French?
Yes. Well, Magic Circus has a big following in France. Here, it was just starting from scratch.
So when you started Oingo Boingo, you did the costumes, the sets?
Yes, costume set, I danced. There's a funny story.
You danced too?
Yes.
The funny thing is
we would interview people and we ask them if they could sing, if they could dance, if they could act. And they say, yes, 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 this is fine, no problem. And then we said, sorry, you are too good for us. We can't hire you.
So it had to be really. But you said you were painting sets with Hervé Villechaize.
Yes, we did a film called Forbidden Zone with
Villechaize.
Rick Elfman. And there was, the
What
show
was the
on
name
TV.
of the film? What was the name of the film?
Forbidden Zone.
Oh, Forbidden Zone.
There was a show with tattoo on TV, Fantasy Island, and Hervé Villechaize was a little man. And he was French. He had a little herb garden in his house. He loved to cook and make gourmet dinner. He was a painter.
This reminds me of that, what you're talking about, a little herb garden and painting, because this is one of your small little paintings.
Well, it's a little study, a quick idea I put down to make a really big one.
Yeah. And the other thing that you've painted a lot are a lot of portraits.
Yes, I did a lot of portraits of children and friends, my mother.
Wait, let's get this. Going from the Oingo Boingo, were you painting all the time?
Yes, I always did.
Your whole life you were painting.
Yes.
And of course you painted the portrait behind me, which I love.
My star portrait.
And you made the portrait behind me, that's me. You also made the frame, which was cracked.
I boiled some eggs, and then I cracked the shell. I removed the skin against the shell because that can rot.
Yes.
And then I crushed it and I put glue all over the frame and press eggshell on it, and voila!
I remember when you were talking about making that frame.
I know
you learned it in school
I
in
did.
France?
Yes, that was art project at schools.
That's so great. And this is a portrait of?
Harry Kieper, Martin von Hasselberg.
And he did a lot of performances. Were you in performances
Looking
with
at his painting, at his portrait, you wouldn't think he could be a very dirty actor.
A dirty actor, yeah. And this one?
This one is Matthew Bright. He writes scripts. He's a writer.
How do you decide what to put in the background of these things?
I like to put skies, but see, the background is usually the most important part to me. That's what my mother taught me.
The background is?
Background, I mean, maybe they're not the whole success everywhere, but I'm always very aware that the main thing you have to create first is the background.
Who is this?
These are Lola and Marie Elfman.
This one looks like a little doll.
She is. Now she's older.
Yeah, she looked like the girl was holding the doll. Were they? It's like her doll.
Yes.
Do you do sculpture?
I took one or two art classes to carve a stone, and that stopped there. But yeah, I love to do things with my hand, and I'm sure I like to work with clay. But I have nothing to show you.
Nothing to show me.
Clay.
Tell me about the ballerinas on the set.
Well, I found a photo in a newspaper about a ballet that I'd showed in town. And I loved it so much, I just had to paint it. But this is like a a study for, I'm planning to make a very big one.
Because it's
that.
so not you. There's no color to it. Your things have
I know
so
it's
much
still
color.
brewing in my head what's going to come out.
What color?
Yes. See, I
then-
have to swallow an idea and wait for it for years, maybe, and suddenly one day,
I see. And this piece next to you, he looks like a gecko.
his name is Babashov.
Baba Shah. And who is he?
Well, I had the idea of making a little storybook, but it's just little paintings. And it started with Babashov. He's just like a little sea monster. And Babashov actually is that's his mother, is going to come out of one egg, and his whole story develops. And it's loosely based on mythologic adventures.
Are you going to write the...
I did already.
You wrote it?
There's like 3-4 lines under
Is it
each
in
story.
French? Is it in French?
I did it in both, but it's still in, what do you say? It's still brouillon. It's still not put together professionally.
It's still boiling.
No, brouillon means when you do graffiti and all that.
Do you like painting portraits the most, or do you like creating, say, somebody for a book?
No, I like everything. It's once I find the idea and I develop it, and it works with me and it feels great. I like anything.
And the monkey, that looks so much like...
Like me?
No, in your gardens in Fontainebleau.
Yes, it's well, I would say full of life and things. You just have to look and see everything is jumping, colorful. It's there.
So will you continue to paint in America, or do you like to go back to France?
No, I paint wherever I'll be, but I like America. I have become an American.
Good.
Yes. And yes, the thing that was keeping me here long all the time, rather than half and half in France, and I have a son who's now is 25, and he flew off the nest. So now I am discovering my new freedom.
We're glad you discovered it with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Joan.
Thank you to Marie LaLanne, and thank you to my viewers. And keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, Los Angeles 90017, 44th floor. And see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.